Okay, we're going to close another 5 minutes. Just a reminder that the meeting is videoed and it will be online. Would you please call the roll, Melissa? Mr. Brown? Here. Mr. Dewey? Here. Mr. George? Here. Ms. Michael?
Here.
Mr. Joel?
Here.
Mr. Shannon?
Here.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for all showing up on this wonderful, beautiful evening out there. We have in front of us the minutes from the October 11th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Migraine?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Yes.
And we have 2 committee reports. Jim Stroll, would you tell us about PMP, please?
Yeah, we had 25 runs. Current total to date is 202 runs. Trucks have been running well. The EMT students are doing well in their training. And under old business, on this TEP grant, we're trying to get this RCM engineering firm to do a feasibility study on the old building, firehouse, basically, building, and that the cost is going to be $5,500. We made a motion to hire the firm. The cost is supposed to be split between the entities, the PMP Northwest Fire District and the village. But we kind of wanted to get the council's opinion on this too.
So is there a motion then to pay a third of the cost? Or is that in your state?
I would move that council approves to have $1,800, which is, that's a round number, but it's going to be around $1,800. I just thought that it was, I mean, we own the building, the village owns the building. I think we should share a third of that cost, which is pretty much what we've been doing in the past on other things. But we didn't obviously want to say that council will do that without council.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Is there any further discussion regarding that?
I would.
Go ahead, maybe answer my question.
I'd like to go and point out that Val and Jeremy was dealing with this Mr. Reinhardt when he came over. So the village really had no input to Mr. Reinhardt.
We need a representative.
I spoke with village administrator Greg about this a little bit, and he was going to address that, and that he was going to send an email and request that a village himself or a village representative would be involved in any future. Is that correct, Greg?
I sent email to Val and Val responded, I heard from Gene, but I talked to Val personally too. She understands that. Nothing the village needs to be there.
Was that your question?
Just would we get a copy of that feasibility study? And who has the final say if they decide to do a new building? I mean, what's the plan? Are they gonna tear that one down and build on top of
That's
it?
the idea of the feasibility study,
Okay.
is to determine whether or if it's going to be possible. I mean, that's,
Jeremy and Anthony want to say you'll build it. I don't think it's feasible.
Well, then who would have the final say? Council, because we own the building?
I would certainly.
Leave up to us, and then we're really going to have to come up with some type of agreement before anything else. So we have some work.
the grant money that they are applying for is like $750,000. So that's not gonna cover the, either building a new or redoing completely. I don't think that building, but that, I mean, that's, so my understanding of this feasibility study is, I give the letter of intent or whatever it's called, I gave one to Greg. We can print one of those out if you'd like one of those too. And, like, again, a feasibility study is meaning that they're gonna come over and evaluate without going forward, then then you start talking about having engineering done and so forth, so on. It's gonna be more money. My understanding is also that this portion could not be included in the grant, but future engineering and that type of thing can come out of the grant.
That's correct.
Yeah. And also the PMP is paying for the study to begin with and then billing them Northwest.
Yeah. We agreed to go ahead with that. And they said they would just bill us whatever the 18 or 17 or whatever it is.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
I would just say that I'm glad that Greg is gonna be involved in it, but we need to probably pay close attention to some of the decisions down there since we do own the building and not getting over our heads.
Nothing in writing, so they have to use that building or that lot.
No.
I understand that.
Build somewhere else. And
What-
But the grant states it has to be within the.
yeah, we can build a building. I know in the past, it seemed like working between the council and the fire department, that back when it was a home volunteer fire department, seemed like a lot of things were done with the nod of the head and the handshake. And maybe that's not
Times have changed,
time to change, maybe we need to put things in writing.
and I think that's what that letter of intent for people are signed on.
Well, the mayor reminded me when she first got on here, was elected to council, there was no cemetery reports, PMP reports, Northwest Fire District reports. Am I correct?
That's correct, they were started in January. So we're trying to keep everybody in the loop. Okay, Joey, you made a motion, Jim, you seconded.
Vice versa, whichever way.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Ewing?
Yes.
Ms. Migrant?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Anything else, Jim?
Nope.
Okay, Joe from the Northwest Hancock County Joint Fire District.
We obviously was on the same night, same meeting, just afterward. We had, Fire Prevention Day was held. There were approximately 20, 30 people attended the event. And Chief Anthony reported that he had spoke at the Rotary Club about the upcoming fire levy. He also said that they're planning on having a couple trucks out, the trick or treat night on north and south sides of the town, delivering candy and just making a little presence known. I think there's also going to be someone at the station, I believe. They're having a little trouble having enough people available during the day. They have enough people to cover the fires or runs, but having enough trouble getting enough vehicles out or so forth, and maybe directing traffic, helping with hoses and all that. So some of the older guys that have kind of retired and gotten out have volunteered to come back in and help out and drive trucks, help with the hoses, help with traffic. The clerk has contacted the insurance company to make sure this is acceptable, and I guess all they have to do is put them on the list for the roster, and everything is good. So the board agreed to this. These guys come in and help. Anthony's still working with 3 different companies on estimates for the new truck. We have an appointment for November 11th at 6:30 to go over one of the finals for, I believe it was Sutton, which is in Ohio. There's a few other companies, he hasn't gotten this finalized yet, but he obviously wants to get this finalized before as soon as possible, because he expects, like everything else, cost to increase next year if there is not a pumper truck put on order. So he also reported that he is going to be taking a fire inspector class, which is, I believe, is a virtual class online. So they made some changes, and looking forward to that, having that. Let me see. And the motion was made by Mr. Vader to pay a portion of the cost of the feasibility study for the building in order to apply for a grant, and this was seconded by Mr. George. The vote was taken, and all were in favor of the motion carried. And that's pertaining to the $1,800 that will be billed for. That's about it.
Thank you. I will say that Val, and I'm not sure who else is helping her, but she is going to have a haunted house during trick or treat in the back part of the fire station where Did she add, is there anything more to that?
That I forgot that. Thank you for bringing that up.
I never knew she did it before.
I'm not sure whether it's fire PMP or what.
It's PMP.
In there, but yeah.
PMPs don't come.
Okay, thank you. Under board business. Under new business. Oh, go ahead, Joe, sorry.
Church Street interceptor. I hadn't, it seems to me that it's been a while since there's been an update, and I called or contacted him, Mock, and I just, my question to him was, do you have any updates or pertinent information regarding the Church Street interceptor project? We have a council meeting coming up on Monday, and I would like to update council and village about this very important project. He got back to me on this meeting. He said, good morning, Joe. We are currently working on the railroad crossing portion of the design. The village applied for OPWC funds for this project, portion of the project. They have not heard yet on the District 13 projects, but he will follow up when that is available. The village was not successful with their critical infrastructure application, but can apply again next year. They are also following up on the HB 168 funds, some of the last funding of federal money, or is that state money? Correct me. Very.
That might be state money.
Okay, I'm sorry, but yeah. And, there's very little information coming out of the state regarding that. The, Parside easement and, description exhibit is done and it's on his desk, and he will forward that to the village next week. And, I need to get with Rob on that for the finalizing of that actual. CSX permit, which is the permit to go underneath the old Paducah track, was submitted early September and he has not heard back on that. They indicated it would be 2 to 3 months. And he would be more than glad. The reason I bring it up is for the council. He would like to know if he wants us to come to the first meeting in November to, if council has any questions about the moving parts or anything, that he would be happy to come to that meeting. So, council would like him to come, let me, we need to discuss that, and I will contact him or Greg can or whoever else.
Did they give a reason why we didn't get to read it?
There was reasons listed, so we need to put those in.
I don't have, I don't know what the reasons were, but I know Greg.
Or else he sent it to you before, but I got a copy of it. And I had to use Dale, so down at Parkside, to finally get that easement. The gentleman out of Chicago, Michigan, wherever, he never would follow through, but thanks to Dale, we got it done. So do you want to hear from him at the next meeting as an update? We don't need a 45-minute presentation, but. Yes, no?
What's he gonna update us on? I mean, other than what you just said?
Well, I just think he thought, if there were any, again, I wasn't usurping anybody authority here by doing this. I just contacted him because, anyway. And anybody that has any questions, like I say, to me, I can't say that it's gonna hurt him to come and say, or, but if there are no questions, there are no reasons.
I just thought maybe I was missing something.
I just think we have to keep on them. Sometimes I'm finding that they are very last minute, and they want us to jump through a lot of hoops at the very end.
I think that is one concern we need to talk to him about.
Maybe have him come.
Have him come.
Is Doug Cade indicated to me is they're dropping stuff off at the last minute and he's finding stuff that maybe could have been done different and we're out of time to do it.
And he's from Hogemeyer? Is that?
Yes.
Maybe they'll know, they submitted that Nature Works grant, and that's supposed to be announced here in November. The other grant that they did, that CDBG grant, we did not get that. And, they're supposed to be some of the premier ones to apply, so I'm not sure why.
Maybe that needs to be the discussion more than,
Pardon?
maybe that needs to be the discussion more than anything, because that's 2 out of 2
Right.
so far.
2 for 2, and that's
Yeah.
not real bad.
That's, third strike, they're out.
So let's just, Jim, do you want to come?
Sure.
Yeah.
Brenda?
It's fine if they come.
Okay, why don't you get back with him? And any other old business? See that I had already marked an X besides acknowledge visitors, so we're gonna jump back up.
I have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have we made any progress with conduit? Odd and names. Is it really? Okay, I haven't done that way in a while. Actually, I haven't. Really?
Couple months.
Good news.
Yes, it is. I haven't walked that
There's,
corner in a
it's
while.
still right on the edges, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Sidewalk.
The-
Cool. Good deal.
Any other old business?
Joe, are you email it to me?
I'm sorry, yeah, I'll call him. I need to talk to him about something
Maybe
else.
Steve Paulette.
Well, that's why I wondered if he would maybe prefer to come along. I think, doesn't she handle the grant stuff more than him?
Okay. I'm gonna jump back up to the visitors. Mike, you had asked about ordinances and scanning available.
Yeah, what I wanted to know was who's taking care of that process, doing that scanning.
Everything has been scanned to them. We had some additional questions that Mr. Potts, Brenda and I responded. Kathy from that place adjusted those. There were 2 tax ordinances, is that correct? That one had been. So everything is there. She is about ready to send the rough draft. So, if you want to know, that entire top drawer there is full of ordinances from 1985, and then we have the planning and zoning. So it's been a major undertaking, but it's all done. It's within.
So then back on the ordinances, just looking at the front page of these, how many readings is this 28, 29, and 30? Required, how many readings are required?
Normally there's 3, but if it can be done in 1.
In the resolution for the,
You only need 1 on a resolution. Okay, Ed, nothing, okay. Mr. Potts? All righty. Then we're going to go back down to new business. Those of us on planning and zoning, Mr. Hart came to the meeting. He has purchased the old barn and 4 apartments up above, and has asked us to look at the possibility of attaching what I would call a wind tunnel between the old back of the bar, and then you can see a little stair steps. There'd be a wind tunnel for the people to enter their apartments from the back. And those are not garages, those are storage units with the old roll top doors. 8x8 storage units.
I got a question. So what I'm looking at here, where they added the storage facilities to the back, it looks like the forward exit out the back of the bar is going to be relocated to the side of the building, stepping out into the alley.
Now, that's the actual wind tunnel, which is an opening through there. I guess if you entered the back of the bar, you might come out there.
Okay.
But you can see there's a sidewalk along here. See the white going to that, what I call a wind tunnel. It's all open underneath there.
I threw that as a door.
It is,
We
it's a
did
door.
too, so don't feel bad when we're not with them. I thought they were garages. I was really impressed.
Or whether that's a door or just an opening from that. Come onto an alley like that.
You're still egressing into that alley. So, or ingress, whichever way you go.
Yeah.
He talked about, if you look at that, about a patio on top. We reminded him that if there's a patio on top, it will have to meet all of the standards, which will be structurally beefed up, and Bowling Green will have to be involved with him. But the committee had kind of told him that, you know, we would discuss it and look at it. He would like to get the pad poured if at all possible, just before snow flies.
I've got another question. Is he's got a stairway going down in there? Is he planning on, it's not showed here or anything, but is the existing rear exit of the bar going to be eliminated?
No.
I don't
No.
believe so.
So basically, there's a walkway in between that you can't see. you can see through that door, there'd be a walkway. So, because there's also a back entrance into the apartments as well, and to the bar. And then you would have your storage, you could have access to your storage area from front or back is the way I understood it.
There's some additional questions I think that he needs to answer to Greg first, and you want to share those or talk about them?
I just, I want him, he gave me this right before that meeting. And, but, I mean, there's no dimensions, there's no awful lot lines. There's, I don't know, I'll have to look what the dimensions of the parking space is supposed to be, if he can fit it on there.
I think he mentioned 8 feet wide.
Well, there's no guardrail around the top of that stairwell.
Well, I think this is just
It's just a,
pad rendering of-
yeah. He also wants to put up 3.8 kilowatt grid tier tied solar array to provide light to alleyway, patio, storage area, and serving dual purposes as a shaded area on top of the patio for seating. I don't know that you can seat people underneath a solar panel, but
Yeah, you can.
can you?
Mhm.
I would not sit under.
You can park underneath them. They make parking between two things. Depends on who construction. So that has to be done by Big County.
He would need, engineer parent to hold my,
Mhm.
Yeah. We also told him that if he was going to use this for seating or patio space for his tenants, that it was going to have to be engineered to hold people. Yeah.
He hopes to do something with the business below. Two of the tenants, I think, from the apartments have moved out, or the last one, and plans to renovate them, which again, I would say since it's under commercial, it will involve with.
He also talked about some of the people that are interested in the bottom, the downstairs as a business, was a bank and 2 restaurants and maybe a church. One of the concerns was if they wanted to put in some kind of drive-through window, that alley, it does not say one way this way, but it says do not enter if you're coming this way. So that traffic flow would have to change.
So I think we let Greg deal with Mr. Hart
Mhm.
and set some guidelines. But I wanted everyone on here to know, because I'm sure that the rumor mill around town is pretty wild. But he does want to make it look nice back there, which is important. And all the stuff that those tenants have, if they could at least put them in storage, that would be a great improvement. Okay. You also have in your packet the holidays.
Bless you.
If you notice the one that says an amendment to the Village of McCollum Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual effective as of January 1st. Well, I highlighted all of those, but they were run in black and white, but you can pretty much see a shade. Juneteenth, June 19th is a new holiday that must be recognized as government. The 2 asterisks has President's Day and Juneteenth. Juneteenth is another highlight. Next sentence under Juneteenth. Juneteenth again. And I think that was it. And so I passed out surveys to all of the employees and asking them what they wanted to do. Obviously, in the past, President's Day is a floating holiday, and normally they have taken that the Friday before the 4th of July, the day before. And they also voted to have Juneteenth as a floating holiday, and that tally was 2 for Friday, May 27th, and 4 for Friday, September 2nd. So I have listed that on that office memo. Labor Day will be on the 2nd. The 5th will be observed as Juneteenth this year. So we will need a motion to amend that policy and to accept the 2022 holidays.
We add a day to,
The law is.
I mean, this is basically the same as last
It's
year.
the
only
same,
one-
except we had at
We
Juneteenth.
added two.
We did have Juneteenth this year. I think it was Labor Day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because the president announced it either the day before and we weren't going to have an emergency council meeting that evening. So, but again, I did offer it to our employees to see if they wanted it as celebrated on the
19.
19th of June. Or they wanted it
We need a motion to amend. A motion to amend.
Second.
Any further discussion on any of that? And the handbook does say that if we do not have it done by the end of December, they fall on the date, so we want to make sure that everybody has its holidays to be next year. So. Program, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Joy?
Yes.
Mr. Migrant?
Yes,
Mr. Shannon? Mr. Stroll?
Yes.
Ms. Ewing?
Yes.
And the other item that I included, there's been discussion about people who have an interest in cutting wood at the park. I believe it was the power company that has some wood down there. And I also was informed that there has already been people back at our brush pile, cutting some of the wood back there. Just as a CYA, I had asked Rob to provide us with a generic release. So if we put something in our newsletter that says, hey, there's an opportunity, if you're looking for wood, you'll need to come up here and sign this. There's been a little bit of discussion since this. Some have said, hey, you know what, we don't want to go back there cutting down trees. Maybe we have the guys spray paint, you know, that paint you use the trunks or something, and if they leave the park, they better have spray paint on it, because otherwise they might have cut the tree down. What else, Joe?
Yeah, that's, I
I
mean,
mean, we talked about a few other things.
I think it's a good thing, but like I say, I don't know whether we need to word it a little differently or whatever, just to make sure that, you know, somebody doesn't go back there and cut down a live oak or whatever.
Well, are they gonna get permission from the village administrator, I take it? So he's basically gonna oversee this, correct?
Well, they're cutting on the weekend back at the brush pile, so I don't think
Well-
Greg's gonna be flying back there on the weekend.
No,
So-
but they ought to have permission before.
They need to have.
you don't know.
Well,
That,
I
I think you better be a little more clear about it. It can only be trees that are down. I think it needs to be felled trees. Yeah, felled trees.
And I didn't.
Because I didn't know about the railroad, and I called you about the railroad
I didn't know if
down
we
there.
should get a picture of the park and, you know, an X where the wood's at. I know that, Greg, you mentioned there is some laying down back along that walking path on the fence road.
Yeah. There's
And I don't know if we're gonna have,
something
you know. Will they
But are
need
you
cut
gonna
down
allow-
or they need to-
All right.
How are they gonna get back there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
How are you gonna get
wondering.
it out of there? I mean,
It's gonna have to be froze.
Well, there you go. See, we need a little more detail here, because I can see this turning
yeah,
into a mess.
Yeah. Well, we want to see what they don't get permission.
That's the theft.
This, we look to our police chief for that. And maybe we should only start out with down at the brush pile and see how that goes.
I think we get with the, might be a good idea to do that for the park.
Just start with
I would
brush
avoid the
pile.
park.
I would, yeah.
You're gonna have 4
What's the brush pile look like?
We got trucks.
All the skinny stuff
Oh,
or
no.
is it stacked like
The
that?
trees that the gentleman takes down.
There's they have them back there.
Yeah.
I mean, some trees that are that round.
Yeah, there's something that
More than beyond what you mark with a orange dot or yellow dot or anything like that.
Well, they can have it all back there.
Pretty much anything down there.
I mean, if they're gonna, if we change some language in here, that this is spelled stuff and they're gonna come and have to do this review and have got. I think we can make sure I'm not cutting down a 120-year-old oak tree.
Let's just stick with.
I think if you're gonna have the park, you should just make a day and have some of us out there to kind of direct people, and this is the day, if you want it, come get it, if you don't, these are the hours.
Okay, we can wait.
Or during daytime, during Monday through Friday type of deal.
And it have to be when it's froze.
Yeah, especially back at the park, because that'd be a mess. About, I mean, you got,
Well, that would work. They wouldn't be in the park at all.
Yeah,
Can I make a suggestion if we're not gonna have someone to oversee it, because we had something similar over there, and there was fights.
Over wood?
Oh, yeah. So I would recommend only having so many of those, yes, you can do this, and have them come in and sign, I would
Sign in and
limit
sign out.
to so many per
That might
day.
be a good idea.
Because yes, they do fight over wood.
First come, first served. If you get 6 people to come in.
Forget about it.
Because
then
some,
just
some,
don't do it at all.
some
That's
people
easier.
just, yeah, some people, that's how they heat their house. And a lot of people that want the wood, that's how they heat their house. So for them, that is a huge cut in their expenses for the winter. We have some friends that's what they use, and he has his own woods. He literally had to put cameras up because he's got people coming in stealing it as he cuts it.
Maybe we can make a permit, kind of sign a permit and
Yes.
have a certain time of the day back there. And only so many permits are given.
How about we work on this
yeah.
for another month?
Table.
Table. Okay,
Like hunting season.
we'll draw that.
I'm serious.
Okay,
Have a drawing and, take what you want, and whatever's left, have another drawing another month. I don't know.
I see. We actually have to pay Oddly clean it when I left for.
I've asked for how many months now? He is
Busy. Okay.
But I asked for an estimate.
Yeah, we had a fire once, we had to put it out. Okay, Joe, do you have anything else? Brad? Brad?
One thing, talked about in previous meetings about getting a lift truck or boom truck for the village, replace the one that was sold. Somebody I talked to brought up something else, might be a little more beneficial, just wanting to get some feedback. Instead of a boom truck with limited capacity, what do you think about like a, self-propelled lift? Like Jim has. Has a bigger basket, it possibly go to. I was just thinking, would that benefit us more than?
Could we trailer something like that, Greg? I mean, the village to have a trailer and all that?
Have a car hauler. I don't see what I'm doing.
That's pretty good.
I don't have a 9-ton trailer.
That's the only,
That's what I was wondering too about.
that's just because they still, if you guys are still interested in doing white bills, you know, you gotta have something that runs down there.
I was kind of wondering.
I understand that the basket on the man lift is much easier to work out of than a single bucket on. That's the basis of the 1 man feet. That's something to think about.
That's why I brought it up, is getting some feedback from other people.
Brenda, do you have anything?
Finance report? Want that now? Or do you want to wait? Okay.
We'll go back up.
Okay, in your packet, you should find a copy of the Finance Committee minutes. We met on Monday, the 18th. Couple of things that everybody knew that the 2022 temporary appropriations were already out and for discussion, and we've had ample opportunity. So if there was anything else, they were going to contact the fiscal officer on that so that they could be presented tonight for the first reading. Secondly, are the ERU and gas accounts. I think what was primarily the concern for the committee was we've seen gas prices going all over the place, anywhere from 10% to 30% increase. And we do have about 70 or 80 folks on budget. But we also have a lot of people that just kind of fall behind in payment and how that's going to affect us going forward. So there was a lot of discussion on potentially looking at readjusting payments on the quarterly basis. And that goes to a look-see through the committee, I believe that Mr. Brown chairs. I think that's correct. And then the long-range fiscal planning, that was, that enveloped everything that's on our concerns and our wish list going forward. It's not to say that we're going to necessarily run right out tomorrow and purchase anything, but to take a look at what we know is facing us. So first on that list was the gas itrons and the billing that we had been looking at. We have elected more or less to kind of take a wait and see approach for this year's monies, knowing that the software is going to go out as far as support, and so are the meters, but there's going to be probably some meters and stuff out there for us to be able to utilize, at least for the first quarter or two going into 2022. So we tabled that as an item of need at the moment. Other things that we looked at with regard to things such as, and I'll just take these in the order that we just happened to discuss them, not that this is any particular order. We did look at a police vehicle. The current vehicle has 2022 lease costs to it. We were looking at things that may be able to last a little bit longer. Also vehicle type and where we're going with that, and whether or not there may be another police officer in the wings. And so it was recommended that we could foresee an appropriation of up to $50,000 put aside for that. The street department needs were addressed in that we had previously had appropriations for leaf vac and leaf collection devices. For that one, we recommended that it could be up to $20,000. The street department mowing needs were met by the current parks tractor that we had talked about earlier, but we didn't identify any future needs for any more mowers in either the street or the parks. With the street department in regards to truck needs, in the discussion, we looked at things such as tires and brakes and alignments and a new seat. So putting that whole package together was in the $10,000 range. Also in the street department, Greg, this is to your question. We talked about the bucket truck, and we looked at an appropriation of upwards to 20,000 for that as well. The salt spreaders and the plows and everything have already been serviced, and so they're ready to go. There's nothing in that realm. With regard to some of the storm water needs, we know that we're pending some parts and remain kind of back there in the area where we're awaiting a schedule on repair. And so there's approximately $30,000 that we are expecting for that. As far as the pools in the park, we know that we will probably delay our painting down there until 2022. That was a minimal amount, so that was not even really part of our address. Given the repair of one of the park tractors, that's the tractor that's going to the street department, given the sale of the Kubota, that pays for approximately half or more of the new park tractor. And so there was roughly 20,000 for a new park tractor, and that goes forward. A lot of these things we pointed out also that the village administrator by state law has the ability to sign things for purchase of upwards of 50,000. However, the village of Macomb has an ordinance that says that we restrict the village administrator to $25,000 or less. So most of these are under that rule, but it's good to have us all on the same sheet of music, and we discussed our needs as opposed to our wants in this committee. So going forward out of this particular item, we also said that given what we know right now, we probably do not need to have any further finance meetings for November and December of this year unless the council finds a reason that we should need to meet outside of normal council. So we had a motion coming out of this finance meeting that said that we would ask that the fiscal officer establish an amount of an additional appropriation under the fund line 1000-800-590 to provide for general fund capital outlay, utilizing funds that have not been previously appropriated in the amount of $150,000. And that covers everything that would be on that list that we discussed. We're looking at developing a full rotational means for like the mower trades, so that we're trading mowers every so many years, very much like the cemetery does. Perhaps maybe doing that with any other items, trucks, cars, or whatever in the future, so that we get all of these on a basis where not everything is coming at us at once, and we don't have an entity that can't function. So that's all that I have on that. So I'd ask that the minutes be approved with the understanding that we have put forth a motion to the fiscal officer to establish that request. So if I could get someone to, I guess, first approve the minutes, and then the second piece of that is to approve to bring the motion forward for the ordinance of 150,000 of appropriation.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Newman.
Yes.
And then if I could get someone to bring forth the motion for the fiscal officer to establish an amount of additional appropriation under the fund line of 1000-800-590 from the general fund capital outlay, utilizing funds not previously appropriated in the amount of 150,000. We have to make the motion to bring the ordinance, yes. Mhm.
I would move $1,000 to the fund. That's correct enough.
Any second? Any further discussion on that? Okay, please call the roll.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Mr. Kroll,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yeah.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George.
Yes.
I apologize
That's okay.
for not having the ordinance on there.
Well, it said council report, so I was just kind of waiting.
Listen, I was like, okay, who's that committee report? Anything else for that?
No, that's it. Thank you.
And it, how about your report?
Other than what we covered with Mr. Hart, we also had Hogemeyer here in regards to a design advisory board for the downtown, which would give the ability for business owners downtown to access grants to revitalize their buildings. It's up to $250 used in a single group of up to 3 building owners. You can go 1 or up to 3. It's to help the integrity of the buildings, whether it be heat, roof, electric. It's competitive, so there is a queue. But in order to go for the grant, Macomb would have to have a design review board. We talked a little bit about this with them, and Kathy did find the ordinance. We do already have one of these that was in effect in 2005, is when this ordinance was signed. They haven't done anything with it, to my knowledge, to Kathy's knowledge. So we can go back to Hogemeyer and tell them that. I think we need to probably invite the owners of the downtown buildings. Ed, you'd be more than welcome to attend and see who would be interested in coming. And would be interested in going for some of these grants. They did give us some examples of Lipsick, the Uptown Market and Chiropractor office was both redone by using this grant. So
It's $250.
oh, $250,000. I'm sorry.
Don't panic here.
Sorry, it's been a long week already.
I think there are 9 property owners when I sat here that night, and all that was probably Hoberman and the old VFW do not have the same historical front on them. So I don't know if that would be something that they would be interested in looking at that front or not even be included. So we've got a lot of homework ahead of us. One of those decisions that we've got historical group.
I don't know if people use it, but yes, they do.
And I think if I recall, Finley had some issues with paint colors and all that, but this would not be the role of council. We would not be the paint police or anything like that. It just has to function through council with this board, but the owners would be the ones working with Hogemeyer.
And I just want to point out, because in the first portion of this ordinance has been basically rescinded by your new planning and zoning document. So there is no such entity. This would have to be revisited, because this states that all buildings over 50 years comprise the preservation district, and you must apply and do all of these things before the committee and this and that and the other thing. And at the time of doing the planning and zoning documents, we found it very cost prohibitive to most business owners of any of the buildings that were owned that were older than 50 years. So this would have to be you'd have to revoke a portion of your planning and zoning document and re-enter the this committee document, or whatever you want to call this, and then go from there and determine which buildings they are. So this was back, well, as you know, many years ago, and I don't know how they got around it exactly, but that, when they did
I just came across it. I mean, I know when Paulette was here, she talked about 5 to 7 people. There was discussion about an architect. So we said, well, have architects.
yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
So I guess we need to review this and then at least talk to the downtown business owners and see. if,
Absolutely.
Maybe we do that on the 15th. I don't know how long that other. The next planning and zoning, anybody who's interested.
Okay. Well, we're not gonna be finance yet.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mitch?
I think that's all I got.
Okay, Jim?
Nope.
Legislative and Melissa, do you want to start with 2128?
First reading ordinance 2027-28, ordinance authorizing additional appropriations to new monies not previously budgeted for budget year 2021 for the village of Macomb, Ohio, for declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Stroll,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant.
Yes.
Second, third reading ordinance 2021-28.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Stroll,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-29, an ordinance authorizing the temporary appropriations for the year 2022 for the village of Macomb, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, Mr. Stroll.
Yes.
Second, and third reading of ordinance 2021-29.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, Mr. Stroll,
Yes.
Ms. Ewing.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-30, an ordinance authorizing the Macomb Finance Officer to move money within the general fund to align with the budget for the remainder of budget year 2021 for the village of Macomb, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Stroll,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Yes.
second and third reading of 2021-30.
Move to adopt.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon, Mr. Stroll,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-11, a resolution authorizing the village of Macomb, Ohio, to participate in the state of Ohio cooperative purchasing program. And this is just.
So we can get state bids. Not sure why they never had that before.
We must have one. We're on the list, but it wasn't in the- But I just.
We
said
need
we
it.
would-
They give us great deals.
Move to adopt.
Adopt.
Second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Ms. Migrant,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. Stroll.
Yes.
Anything else, Melissa?
Hours for the month of October. And all the comparisons to general fund, gas fund, swimming pool.
appreciate having all of those numbers. Thank you. Greg, you're up.
What was tonight? Two things. I did drive around those potholes, had the guys fix them. It was too cold. Tires. Call Daggy Equipment to work on the back truck hose to get fixed. That was a couple of weeks ago, and I had called and we were gonna take it in this morning, and he called me back and they sold the parts on Friday. He thought he had more, so weeks to get it
This
in.
is just for the hose, right? No, it's different.
Mr. Hall, I called him this week, left him a message. I emailed him this week, and I've got nothing back from Tyler once again. I talked with Bill Stahl today. The mower will be, as soon as Melissa gives me back a purchase order, it is ordered, and with John Deere being on strike, you cannot guarantee it will show up. But we'll get ordered before the price increase. I spoke with John Sopko, I can never get his last name right, from Northwest Water, about the upcoming construction that's going to be in the village next year. He brought plans down to me, they're in my office, if anybody wants to look at them, about the areas that will get worked on. And the pre-construction meeting, he suggested, and I gladly went along with it, that it will be here. So that way all of us can attend and voice our concerns or ask questions or whatever. That's going to be sometime in November. He's not sure yet when exact date. He did tell me that B Hills got the contract to do work.
Do they think they're gonna not start this year, or they haven't? Know?
At first, he thought maybe they could do the water line out on 613 before the end of the year. They can't get the water line, so they're thinking spring before.
I don't recall that the Hilts having one of the contracts that we wanted.
I had talked to him before about the fixing the.
Okay.
So, but he's done. He did work out.
Well,
He
maybe
has
it'll be better
been
than
found.
we had.
I'm taking the Ford 3/4 ton and the Ford F350, taking that to Auto Tire on Wednesday morning. They're the cheapest that I called around. And then I'm going to take both vehicles down to the Norhouse to get the front end aligned and the brakes looked at. I was told the 1st of November by John from Northwest that they're going to replant these trees on Main Street. They're going to be hedge maples. So let's see if that happens. I told you about number 7. Going to shut down portions of Main Street for the Halloween parade. I talked with Tammy on that. I do apologize to Tammy. Kind of slipped my mind, and I did not. Should have talked to her earlier, but we will have it closed down for the parade. He didn't call today. Actually, I had Billy call because he had the guy's number. The light is supposed to be fixed on Wednesday. The part is finally here. He said he's going to come Wednesday to fix that. So the street light should be fixed.
Does that have to be?
I was just gonna say, I had a lot of people, well, several people mention to me how much easier traffic flows with that.
If it were up to me, I would have it timed so that it was red light, green light, a regular stoplight during school hours. and then flashing at other times.
The only problem is people come up on the caution and stop because they don't know what to do and somebody's gonna smack them.
I had a phone call today, with concern that she's been almost in an accident 2 times down there. And when I was gonna get the light fixed. But yeah, maybe that was Wednesday. That's all I have.
Any questions for Greg? Thank you.
Well, we had a general email conversation, phone conversations, and filed those 5 gas cases, and what I sent those dates to, but I'll double check tomorrow and
I
send
know
them again.
Haley looked them up.
Oh, and you want me to send them?
Yeah, Haley got
I'll
it.
do that. During the Monday.
I think you're right.
And that
23rd.
depends on service plans. Gail Loving, you said you had some charitable help, so you did, money. Good.
We got money from her, or it will be coming. She still is gonna have to owe, turn-on fee, support costs, and the 3%, so.
It's just, she went to a charity, and it's just sad, she could have done that ahead of time.
I had
Even with
told
the
her,
letters that we wrote
given
her,
her
there was enough tickets to get this, but she waited until the end and made us, being convenience, making it important to screw around. Either way, that was. What was that? That was 82.35. That was all the football stuff. Worth it.
thank you. She knew she owed it, and I gave her more numbers again, told her to give them some, she must have. Anything else for Rob?
I just, if you had any opportunity to, what we discussed,
On the building thing, yeah, I got, or how to arrange an agreement, yeah, I've got my lifeline, we're talking about all that. Just depends on how it works out. And, there's lots of things.
Ms. G.
I'm still talking with the sheriff's office. We're coming up with a plan. We're gonna do an active shooter scenario type thing with Hartside. They want us to really get after that, after the situation they had in Finley. So we're trying to get everybody on board for that, because of course there's gonna be way more than just me. So we're working on that. So if you see some commotion going on, that's probably what it is. Wednesday night, I plan on being at the school, just so everybody knows. I did have a phone call on that. I think it's a good idea that police presence is there, so. I don't know if the SROs from the school had planned on being there or not, so I'm gonna be there for that.
Well, the people running the school board should be there, so maybe they're coming. I don't know.
Yeah, I had asked him if he knew anything about it. He didn't know anything about it, so I'm just gonna plan on being there.
Okay, thank you.
Since the last meeting, I had great incidents, 14 calls for service, 6 traffic stops. And the last 2 weeks, this school's been a little bit quieter, so I've only had a couple things there.
Good. Any questions for King? Okay. I do have the ERU and gas up on the board here. ERU says that today it's 8,742. And as you recall, we did put all of those on real estate taxes, so those people will get a bill one way or the other. Today, Haley ran the gas. People owe us $8,342.85. Our credit is high because people who were on the budget, it is now, they're building theirs up for winter. So $12,158.37 in credit. So if we had someone call us today and we had to come up with money to pay out, we would have $20,501.22. So it is doing what we thought it would do with the budget. People are paying ahead because it's starting to get cold. So they paid ahead throughout the summer. Number 219, I am still looking to look for a police vehicle one. There was one near Chicago. It was a 2020. It only had 673 miles on it. It had only been transported from one place to another. It's gone. And I wanted to wait till after everything was official tonight. So I'm still looking. I did find that copy from 205. Everyone has that. American Legal, it's getting very close to being done. They will be sending us that draft. We had a donation for lighting at the flags at the park. So if you go by there, you may have noticed that they are well lit. Jeff Fetter, and he must be the electrician, and then Debbie Latimer from Mountain Pay provided that, and Mr. Brown installed it. Just a reminder that trick or treat is set for Sunday night, and aren't we thankful that we did Sunday night since our boys are playing Friday night at 7.
Saturday.
Or
Saturday.
Saturday night. Or Saturday night. And we get the ERU together. Any questions?
I just have one more
Oh, that's
thing,
fine.
that I would move that we go to executive session for the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, or compensation of an employee, or the investigation of charges, complaints against an employer or official, unless the employee or the official requests a public hearing. And I would request that the mayor be present, village administrator, physical officer, all the council, and the solicitor.
So we have the first one, that is the second one.
Second.
Take a vote.
Mr. Brown,
Yeah.
Ms. Ewing,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Shane, Mr. Stroll, Mrs. George.
Yes.
Great, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Well, then walk on